The Iowa Organic Association, with funding from the North Central SARE program, developed the Growing Organic Expertise in Iowa Organic Inspection video series to provide examples about the different aspects of the organic inspection process. Organic inspections play a vital role to ensure organic integrity and consumer trust in the USDA Organic seal. What is organic? Organic is a labeling term that indicates that the food or other agricultural product has been produced through methods approved by the USDA National Organic Program. These methods integrate cultural, biological, and mechanical practices that foster cycling of resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. Synthetic chemicals and GMOs are prohibited. All USDA certified organic operations are inspected on an annual basis to ensure production and processes follow the NOP regulations.
I was raised in Atlantic, which is 6 miles from here, Atlantic, Iowa. I went to high school, graduated from high school there, was quite a world traveler, and ended up coming back here in 1975. A month later, I met Larry Harris, who had been traveling after college and worked in the mines, and decided while he was working underground that he wanted to work above ground and hopefully come back and farm and convince his father to farm organically. The thing that helped us starting out farming is that he knew rotational farming. He knew rotational crops. He had that knowledge of growing up every day, having livestock and crops to grow with not much chemical use. And we farmed about 425 acres, I think, and that was with pasture. We have 17 acres now. I'm transitioning as a farmer. We've been doing this for 45 years, and so I'm growing plants for people to start gardens. Rather than growing the food for people, I'm starting plants so people can grow their own food. Starting early with spinach and lettuces and the greens in the spring, going into green beans and tomatoes and peppers and that, and then going into the fall with broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower.
Jude Becker is a guy who was born at this very location, and he grew up in the 80s when farms were sort of going through a trying time. Through a close connection with my grandmother and my other ancestors that were still living at the time, it really inspired me at a young age, and I got this growing fascination with Iowa and its rural and agrarian history and its place in our nation in that regard. That was a different time in the late 90s when organic farming was just sort of in its infancy as a concept. Part of the farm I had convinced my grandmother to rent, and I planted part of it in soybeans that were supposed to be bound for the tofu markets. So that was sort of the early days of me being inspired to this work, and I'll always be a devotee of rural Iowa and its history. The Iowa Organic Association, my interaction with it, has been a voice for bringing a confluence of resources, the right brains, and also students. So the role for the Iowa Organic Association is a kind of gatekeeper, a kind of arbiter of these concepts. And that's great. I'm glad to be a part of it.
I was born and raised in a small farming community of Polksville, Iowa. My father ran the farmers co-op there, and we managed the sale barn, feed, seed, fertilizer business, and a grocery store. I grew up immersed and surrounded by farmers and farming, and through my father's work, it was basically drilled into my head that, I remember Dad saying, farmers work harder than we do, don't complain about coming in. If they'd call us up in the evening for something. And not just respect, but the idea to serve the farming community was well instilled in me by example. And this actually formed some of the basis of why I got into organic inspecting years later.
Well, the fact that we have an Iowa Organic Association is really important, and what we're doing again is, having that education to people. It's a real tough issue in Iowa. Agriculture has been, and I call it agribusiness because they've taken the culture out of it, has been king. And so whatever they do, no one questions. And I don't think that's very fair. I get very angry about that because people should question what's going on these crops. This is our economic well-being. If you spray, we're out of business for 3 years of being able to market organically. And farming's hard and marginal anyway, whether you're doing conventional crops or organic crops. That margin, when you do something special to get that margin of pay, then and then you lose it for 3 years, that makes a really big difference in the economics.
For more information about USDA NOP organic standards and guidelines, visit usda.gov/organic. The Iowa Organic Association is a nonprofit organization committed to advancing organic agriculture and food systems in Iowa through education, outreach, advocacy, and community cooperation. For more information about IOA, visit www.iowaorganic.org.